Bill Cheney with the Credit Union National Association, and I have the distinct honor to represent America's credit unions. We represent about 90% of America's 7,300 credit unions. And credit unions in the United States serve over 93 million Americans, which is a lot of people. We would like to serve more, and I hope you'll understand why after I make my brief remarks, and I too look forward to the dialogue. We believe credit unions are the best way for consumers to conduct their financial services in this country. Credit unions were formed, the first credit unions were formed in this country in the early 1900s as true financial cooperatives, actually coming down out of Canada, a movement that began in Germany. Many were serving either faith-based or rural agricultural constituencies. But the credit union movement really took off in the 1930s and grew out of the Great Depression. The Federal Credit Union Act in the 1930s created what we know today as the U.S. credit union movement. And at one point in this country, there were over 24,000 credit unions. So we've seen some consolidation. We've seen consolidation in the number of credit unions, but we've seen rapid growth in credit union members and assets. Why do we believe credit unions are the best way for Americans to conduct their financial services? Well, quite simply, credit unions are a better deal. And they're a better deal because they're financial cooperatives. I can speak from experience. I've been doing this trade association thing now for about 5 years. 10 months of those 5 years have been here in Washington. Before that, I represented credit unions in California. But before I entered this trade association thing, I actually worked at credit unions for 19 years, most recently as the CEO of the credit union that serves Xerox employees throughout the country. So I know from personal experience that it's quite simply a different business model. Sometimes, well, banks like to say that credit unions are just like banks. And the only similarity between a credit union and a bank is in the products, the types of products and services that we offer. How we provide those services are very different. And I know I have some colleagues here in the audience who are with credit unions. I can tell you with 100% certainty the way we approach our business and the way we run our business is very different than the for-profit model. Now let me say, there's nothing wrong with the for-profit banking system. We need that in this country. But we desperately need a not-for-profit system. And in this country and in many others around the world, that is credit unions or other types of financial cooperatives. United States credit unions save U.S. consumers about $6.5 billion a year. That's credit union members save $6.5 billion a year because of lower rates on loans, higher rates on savings, and much lower fees than for-profit institutions. Credit unions can do that because they're focused on one thing: serving their members. Whereas in a for-profit institution, your number one goal has to be to maximize the value of the institution for your shareholders. That's the way it works. In a not-for-profit institution, speaking from personal experience, having managed a credit union, our goal at every discussion we had, every board meeting we had was, how can we maximize this institution for the people that own it, the depositors or the members, and I know it works that way in other cooperatives as well. You mentioned board governance. Credit union board members are elected by the membership, and in almost every state in this country, credit union board members serve without remuneration. They're volunteers, elected by their peers, one member, one vote, to oversee the management of the credit union. In survey after survey, not only do credit unions save their members money, but in survey after survey, credit unions ranked number one in trust and number one in customer or member satisfaction. In fact, the American Banker, for over 20 years, conducted a survey of consumers, and year after year, credit unions ranked at the top of the list. I think they got tired of reading about it because they stopped the survey. But that's okay, there's other people that survey it. And any way you cut it, credit unions top the list. The basic philosophy that's been around in the U.S. credit union movement from the very beginning is people helping people. and it goes to the very core of our governance. I was asked to talk a little bit about how the financial crisis impacted credit unions, and there's no question that we were impacted. Credit unions, we say, were collateral damage to the financial crisis. Credit unions obviously make a full range of financial products and services available to their members, and in real estate markets where values declined 50, 60, 70%. Remember I was in California. It had an impact. I will say this, however, credit unions have survived the crisis, and they're going to thrive going forward coming out of the crisis. And credit unions, unlike other financial institutions in this country, did not take any government assistance or bailout money, call it what you will. The costs of the crisis that were, the impact that it had on credit unions, those costs are being borne by credit unions, and they will be doing so over the next several years. But we've already seen, and just in the last year, the capital of credit unions and the earnings of credit unions improve dramatically. There are a number of issues that we're working on, and I'll be very brief here, in Washington, D.C. to benefit credit unions and their members. We're working to expand credit union business lending authority in a way that would help credit unions lend an additional $13 billion to small business and create 140,000 jobs year one in this country at no cost to the taxpayer. We're working on legislation that would allow the reform of credit union capital standards and access to supplemental forms of capital. Most cooperatives have access to non-ownership forms of capital, and we're working on that. And I'm also very excited to announce a project that was just announced here in Washington, D.C. 2 months ago, the launch of a consumer website called a smarterchoice.org. We believe credit unions are a smarter choice. You can go to a smarterchoice.org, and if you're not already a member of a credit union, and my guess is we have quite a few credit union members in this room, you can go to a smarterchoice.org, enter some information about yourself, learn about credit unions, and find a credit union that you're eligible to join. I look forward to the discussion. I'm very excited about the Year of the Cooperatives, as Paul mentioned earlier. Cooperative enterprises build a better world. I couldn't agree more, and we need to see more of it. So thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Bill.